Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today we've got a special guest, a long time in the making. We've been trying to hook this up for ages, but when you see who it is, you can realize that, she's one half of the Jay-Z and Beyonce of Star Wars YouTube, basically. The big hitters, the big dogs. From Star Wars Explained, it's Mollie Damon. How you going, Mollie?
Hi, I'm good. Oh, that's a big setup for me.
No one's ever called you guys the Jay-Z and Beyonce of Star Wars YouTube?
That's a new one, but I'll take it.
You take it. You guys can work out amongst yourselves who's Jay-Z and who's Beyonce. Maybe it's just
Yeah, yeah,
whatever given day, it depends how you feel on a certain day.
sure.
Thanks so much for doing this. So, as I just said, we've tried to do this a few times and it just hasn't worked out because it turns out, around December, November, you guys get really busy for some reason.
Yeah, we had a lot to do. It was kind of busy.
So how's it feel now? Are you guys just sort of going, this is nice?
It feels pretty good now, and like we've been getting a lot done just around the house because we recently moved a couple months ago,
Mm.
and we've had to put off a lot of just like personal stuff
Yep.
during the movie release and everything. So we've been doing a lot of house updates and just
Yeah.
waiting for the next big thing.
Yeah, I hear that. We bought a house a couple of years ago and it's just like, all right, now we've got to do this. We've got to put this in or we need that or that. We didn't realize that was like that when we bought it or that, this thing. Yeah. So it was a lot of
Yeah,
that. Um,
yeah.
do you guys just find yourselves that you have to basically just plan life around Star Wars? Like when you were buying a house, you're like, hey, we actually seriously can't, we've got to do this now because we can't be looking at houses in October knowing that we've got to, hit these dates. Is it sort of like a big whiteboard at your house going, must avoid these dates?
Kind of, yeah. I do remember the day that we moved, and this just happened to be coincidence. The day that we were moving was the day that celebration tickets and like hotel slots opened up.
Oh, yeah.
So we were like frantically trying to get that sorted out while the movers were, getting all of our stuff together.
Oh, well, at least you didn't have to get up at 2 a.m. like we did here. And
Mm,
it was, and the thing is, I was really, because for Chicago, we'd sort of decided to go. And then I think they went on sale and we were kind of like, will we do it? Will we do it? All right, let's do it. And we got the passes, no problems. And then this year, for whatever reason, everyone's like, no, we've got to get up. We're going to do it. I'm like, I'll be fine. We'll just, get in a couple of days. There's no reason to get up. And I thought, oh, no, if everybody's doing it, I'll get up early. And thank goodness. Like,
yeah,
they just went crazy. I mean,
yeah.
maybe if they'd sold the celebration tickets after Rise of Skywalker, it might have been a different story. But anyway,
Well, yeah, and like people just assume that we get media passes or like the special fancy wristband passes, but last year we got approved for just one media pass,
all right.
which which was great, and that worked out fine. And really, all it gets you is access to the media room. It's just like a quiet room with Wi-Fi, so that you can edit things.
Yeah. Oh, look, I there was some talk about it with this Rinky Dink podcast, and I'm like, there's no way. Then I'd already got passes and things, and then someone just said, oh, look, it's just like you said, it's just a room that you can go in and do stuff. And
Yeah,
I did a few blog pods and things while I was there, and I just ended up just editing them at sort of 2 a.m. before going to bed, and then just getting up and doing it all again. But
hmm
do you like with Celebration? Do you guys like we ran into each other at Celebration a couple of times and chit chat, and we hung out a little bit on the Saturday night there, and like, is it all work no play?
Uh, it was for the most part. We tried to hang out at night and like see people as much as we could, but man, we lost a lot of sleep. And like this year, it just so happens that Celebration and Dragon Con, so the convention that we do every year in Atlanta, are back to back.
Oh wow!
So
So
we might die.
oh, that's good attitude. At least you're not just like, oh, so one's got to go, or we might not, do one as much. You're like, nah, we just got to pull through. We got to push through this thing. We just got to, keep hydrated.
Oh yeah, and it's good that Celebration is first and then Dragon Con is second because like we do a little bit of work stuff at Dragon Con, but for the most part, it's just like a 4-day party
Yep.
that we just happened to maybe do a few panels at.
Do you feel like that with Celebration, it's kind of like, we put so much work in so far. It just seems like we can't step back and do less. We've come so far. You can't just go, oh, maybe we'll just take a few days off and just be another face in the crowd. But I mean, you guys recognized at Celebration anyway. Every time I spotted you guys, you had a few people hanging around. Wanted to see you. Internet famous, the Jay-Z and Beyonce of Star Wars YouTube.
Yeah, and we still haven't really figured out if we're gonna do. We're gonna try to do at least one panel and whatever we can do, really. But we don't have any ideas for what we're gonna do yet. But yeah, we did get recognized a lot more than we thought we were going to, and we had our buddy with us that just kind of came along as a friend, but he was also gonna like film a little bit for us.
Yep.
For like blogs and stuff, but then he ended up being the picture taker.
He was like the muscle. He's like form a cue. It's like with somebody like I think on the last day I saw Bobby Moynihan and is it Donald Faison?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I saw they were walking the floor in the last thing, and I of course couldn't help myself. I went up and gave them some stickers and stuff, and they were very nice and things. But they have like a little minder as well. He just sort of walks around with them saying, oh, if you want a picture, you should have paid for a picture and all that kind of stuff. Maybe you guys have to get some hype men, some muscles and things, just to keep the crowd away for Anaheim, get all organized.
Yeah. It would feel very silly, but honestly, we might look into it.
I guess the other thing is you could always just, stick a Stormtrooper helmet on your head and stuff. And although it's hard, I'd never worn a Stormtrooper helmet before until Celebration because a friend had it. And I put it on, and after about a minute, I'm going, how do people walk around these things? Like you can't see anything. They're really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this is a quiet period for you guys. Does it? Like as far as the channel goes, is it basically just a full-time gig? Like, do you don't mind me asking, like, is it what you guys sort of do day in, day out? Is there day jobs involved, or you don't need no day jobs no more? Or is it like, how does it, I always sort of wonder about YouTube stuff. Like I know you guys are have a lot of followers and things, but sometimes it's, in this kind of period, you're just like, oh, we get back to our old lives, or how does it work?
Yeah. We both went full time with it officially, I think 2 or 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, even with like the slow period, we are constantly like thinking of ideas and writing scripts and filming things so that we have a pretty decent backlog.
Yep.
And that's really the only way we can put out daily content is because of this huge backlog that we have of stuff.
Yeah. So do you find yourself like, in this period now, we're kind of like, oh, we don't know. Because like the thing about you guys is that, you're fact based basically for the most part. You're not sort of just wacky making, like, does it annoy you when you see these channels that just completely make stuff up every day just to have something out? You're just like, oh, it'd be so tempting just to stick a bit of crap out there.
It is definitely tempting, especially like you said, when it's like a slow period. And yeah, I don't know. We try to stick with the facts and the news and whatever is canon. And every once in a while, we'll talk about some theories and some like, like the script leaks and whatnot in the Q&As.
Yep.
A lot of people will ask us about that.
Yep. That's kind of a good way you can kind of talk about it without having to actually, say that's a real thing. Just like, oh, we saw these things.
Yeah. And like every so often we'll throw in a video that's like somewhat of a theory, but there's enough facts behind it to back it up that we're pretty sure it's close to being right.
So when there's like there was that guy the other day who was claiming to be one of the Knights of Ren, he goes on this podcast and sort of like, I sort of breezed over it and it came pretty clear pretty quick that he's just kind of just making stuff up. Does that? Yeah. Like, where does that, like when you first see that, are you and Alex just like, oh geez, like, is that real? Do you do your own sort of internal fact checking? Because obviously that's sort of something that, if true, you can jump on pretty quick, or how does that work? Or you go like, oh no, it's been debunked within like half an hour, we can just not worry about it.
Yeah, we mostly try to stick with anything that's just official Lucasfilm announcement stuff, like stuff that gets announced on the Star Wars show or gets tweeted about, stuff like that. Where we're just like, okay, yeah, that's probably nothing. We
It's,
might make a tweet about it, but that's about it.
yeah, yeah. I just thought that was funny. It's just this weird period now where there's just this weird hunger for either news or, in some cases, people not wanting to believe that the film is the film. So I've got to
Hmm.
have these other angles or these other, like there's another cut of it or there's a different ending or this happened or this happened. People's sort of reaction to the film, for some cases, wasn't positive or wasn't what they wanted. So it's like, I just want, no, I don't want to believe it. I just want things to tell me that it's not what it is.
Right. Yeah. And it's weird because this is that like what we got is the end of the saga.
Yeah.
We don't know what's coming next.
Yeah.
So like after The Last Jedi, we were like, okay, well, we know there's going to be a movie after this with the same characters,
Mm.
but
And
now we're just like,
we can go places. Yeah, I
yeah.
made the point. I had a friend on last week. We're just going. It's just it. When you get to the end, there's no more speculation. Like it's
Hmm.
done. Like that's it. Like whether you like it or not. Like you can talk about what could have been, but ultimately the story is the story, and the timeline of Star Wars has officially stopped. Like it's when Rey's in front of those twin suns. That's sort of as far as we know as time has ended until we know
Hmm.
any different. And it looks
Yeah.
like they're going to go back for a while. They're not actually going to touch you know that period anymore. Do you like? What was your sort of opening night experience? Like, what did you, Alex, to just watch amongst yourselves? Do you take a bunch of friends? Do you media passes? Like, do you have a certain thing
We,
every year, or is it kind of just change on circumstance?
uh, for the most part, we go with a big group of friends, which is, it's always fun and it's helpful for us to get feedback from them because they're like way more casual
Mm-hmm.
fans than we are. So we like to get their input. And it was interesting because everyone who considered themselves a more casual fan said that they loved it.
Yeah, I had the exact same experience as well.
And coming straight out of the theater, me and Alex, I think, were just kind of in shock with what happened and needed time to process it. And I've seen it 3 times, and I've definitely worked out some feelings and thoughts.
So, do you guys like? How much do you know going in your line of work? Like obvious spoilers, do you find everything else out because you kind of need to be prepared, or do you just whatever I see in a trailer or on a TV spot that's cool, and I just go in like everyone else?
Yeah, yeah, we try to avoid spoilers and leaks at all costs. There were a few times where I would go look around in the Star Wars leaks subreddit,
Mm-hmm.
mostly just me being curious about the toys that were coming out, but we didn't seek out
Yep.
anything going into it.
Um, do you try to like? Is it hard to? Does like when you sort of get there on that first night and sit down? Does work sort of just take a back seat? You just sit there as Star Wars fans, or you just kind of like, oh, we're gonna have to do this and this. You're like, nah, we'll just whatever. We'll worry about our reactions when the reactions. I just want to sit down and enjoy myself as Star Wars.
That's the tough part. Is like our first viewing is always kind of tough because we know we have to go home immediately and film a reaction video, but
Mm-hmm.
we try to sit down for the first time as a fan
Yep.
and just enjoy it. And then we go usually the next day and really pick it apart.
Yeah, I did the same thing. So we do midnight screenings in Australia, and we actually got it before. I think we got it almost 2 days ahead of the US. So we'd already
Hmm.
seen it. I'd seen it at least twice by the time it even came out in the States. But that first screening was at midnight, so you're already kind of up late. You're on adrenaline and da-da-da. And there was a lot of, and I had some mics out, and we had friends sort of react to some other podcasters and stuff here, and there was a bit sort of. I don't know. I don't know about that, and what that was weird, or that happened, and then the next day it was just sort of, all right, I'm just going to follow this. I'm going to listen really carefully and try and figure out, especially that film, because it just belts along so quickly, especially the first half of the film flies along.
Yeah.
Did so you said sort of 3 times? Has Alex gone back more than? Do you kind of go together every time, or is it just sort of? Well, that's enough until it comes on digital. I think we got the gist of it.
I think we both went 3 times, twice just the two of us, or the first time with our friends, and then we went and saw it with his parents, and then uh, saw saw it again after that, just to try to really get it to sink in.
So what was the biggest, like, was it the Ray as a Palpatine? Was that the sort of the thing that sort of was the hardest to process at the film, sort
Yeah,
of plot wise?
definitely for me, her being related to Palpatine was my biggest issue. I've since then come to terms with it. But I think also for Alex, he had a problem with that. And then just like Palpatine in general, he didn't really like how they handled him being back.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Um,
especially for you guys who, both of your cases, but I suppose Alex even more so, who just knows every little nook and cranny and everything. I mean, both of you really, that like the lead up and everything, and just going, I should, this should make sense to me because I know so much of how we've gotten here, and if I
mhm.
don't, this doesn't make sense to me. Like, how does this make sense to anybody?
Yeah, yeah. And like it's interesting because a lot of people just didn't care to know how or why Palpatine was back. But yeah, for us, we were just like,
Mm.
but how?
But the thing is
And
also,
why?
the people go, oh, well, I'm sure Alex and Molly can explain this to me. Their Star Wars explained. Hey, guys,
Yeah.
like, what's going on with this Palpatine thing? And you're just going, hey, we're just as confused as you are.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our topics in our Q&As recently have
Mm.
been questions that we can't answer like exactly. We can just talk about it and say how we feel.
Well, that's all you can really do, isn't it? It's just, yeah. I mean, you guys seem to be more, your channel skewed more to sort of the, like you said, the canon and the stuff like, rather than the production side of stuff so much.
Hmm.
So were you at all guys across the sort of the lead up of the production of, just like, obviously, change of directors, JJ comes back, da 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 da. But I mean, I followed that a little bit, and I sort of got the impression it seemed like that, the handover men, they were running on the seat, running by the seat of their pants a lot. Desperately trying to get this thing written, desperately trying to get this thing shot, desperately trying to get this thing edited, desperately trying to get this thing out. And
Hmm.
I mean, I think it shows up on the screen that there's a lot of like ideas that probably maybe weren't 100% thought through, or just sort of like, that works, let's move on to the next thing, that works, move on to the next thing. Did
Yeah.
you get that impression as well? I mean, did you guys have a gist of the production, or really just the same as anybody else, really?
I mean, we excuse me, we followed it a little bit, but not too closely. We were just gonna be like, you know what? Well, we're gonna get what we're gonna get.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I've seen it 5 times now. I saw it three times in 3 days, and then I went back sort of, and that was right all before Christmas, and then Christmas was just sort of mental for us and busy, and it's
Hmm.
summer here in Australia, so everyone's on holidays and doing stuff, and we're down the beach and having a lovely time
Right.
trying to avoid bushfires and all that kind of cool stuff. And then
Right.
the last couple of weeks, I went a couple of weeks ago with a friend of mine, and then last weekend, sort of some of the Melbourne people, they were showing. It's pretty much finished everywhere in Melbourne now, but the big art house Cinema the Astor was doing a big screening there. So we went on Saturday night and sort of like, one last hurrah, let's see that. And they've got, it's like a big old style one, huge screen. Like, we're on the balcony right in front of it, and it was quite interesting actually, because I'd say 70% of the audience, and it was quite busy, hadn't seen the film. Like, just, you can sort of
Mm.
gauge from the reactions, they're sort of like, or all that kind of stuff. So it was interesting that some people still hadn't seen it, and it got a pretty positive reaction. So I'm glad I went that one last time. But yeah, I I didn't mind it as much as some other people, but yeah, there's a few people here who sort of are still coming to grips with it.
Hmm.
Did you? What did you think of the sort of the way someone like Ben Solo ended up? Did you? I mean, did you just think Ben Demption was always the thing? I kind of assumed at Star Wars he's gonna come good at the end.
I wasn't always on the Bendemption train, but I slowly got there, and then once I was there, I was like, yeah, this has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Early on, I kind of thought, oh, Kylo is the main villain. He's gonna die as Kylo.
Yep.
Um, but then thinking more about Star Wars and the main message that it is going to want to tell. I was like, no, he's gonna get redeemed. But
Yeah.
then dying shortly after was like a twist of the knife for me.
Yeah, it was funny just how kind of likable and cool he was for the 5 minutes that you saw him. Like he sort of,
Hmm.
he kind of turns and has that. I mean, Adam Driver can act circles around pretty much anybody in Star Wars. You can see it in his face, and he sort of breaks down in front of Han, and then he shows up and he's just sort of like, oh, he's a cool guy. I want to see more of this cool guy, and
Yeah.
and then and then he sort of
Yeah,
snatched away.
we get like this small amount of Ben Solo, and it's so cool. And like you said, he's such a great actor. You can just feel happiness that you're getting to see Ben Solo, and he has one line, and it's "owl."
Oh yeah, which I quite liked. I mean, when someone was like, "Oh, that's the only thing he says," I went, "Oh yeah, that's a bit funny." Oh no, he says "dad" as well.
Does he? Well,
Oh,
I
but
guess yeah, depending on
technically,
when
but
you.
yeah, when you, yeah. But I kind of like the moment that it's like, oh, he can actually like feel things again, like he can sort of feel. But yeah, he just sort of goes, oh. But the funny thing is that I always expected Kylo to be sort of like Anakin, that he was sort of a bit, a bit of a brat, bit sort of
Mhm.
headstrong and not, bit not particularly likable. But then now I'm just going, oh, that's interesting. Like maybe, obviously when he sort of turned and stuff, he might have been sort of more like that. But he was actually
Mhm.
a reasonably cool guy for a
Yeah,
bit.
I mean, it, his whole time being Kylo Ren, he was still very torn
Mm.
and just being kind of uh, like
Not really enjoying himself, is he? He never really seemed to
no,
even revel in the dark side, like really even
no,
having a
yeah.
good time.
And then, finding out that it was Palpatine the whole time behind Snoke and like the voice in his head, and Anakin makes this like very selfish choice to become
Yeah.
Darth Vader, and Kylo Ren is just he is a brat, and
He's sort of led down the path, isn't he, a little bit? He's sort of,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
sort of manipulated into a little bit more than Anakin is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a shame. We're kind of going, oh, the Ben Solo adventures would have been quite cool, but I can kind of, I had this sort of question that I'd asked a lot of people when we were kind of leading up, going, can you end a Skywalker saga by having Skywalker still alive at the end of the film? And I was like, well, does Leia have to go? Does Ben have to go, or Kylo have to go? Rey, technically one way or the other, whatever, but the family anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of funny. A lot of people were like, oh yeah, well you can't. It's just be weird if you couldn't end the saga. The saga goes on if you've got Ben Solo redeemed going to other stuff, or even Leia, or anything. But other people are like, no, you can't kill him off. I was a bit surprised that they. I was just surprised that they killed Leia. I kind of felt after Carrie passed they might not sort of show that. Did you find that surprising, or what did you think of Leia in general? Sort of best of a bad situation.
Yeah, going into it, I felt the same way. I didn't think that they were going to kill her, but I do think that the way they handled it was nice. Like
Mm.
her dying had something to do with Ben Solo coming back, and I don't know. It was poetic, and I didn't mind it.
I asked you guys the Jedi Leia. Like, is that just a canon mind mess now? Does that just like, do you guys just go, what is going on? Where did this come from? Does that just sort of throw a monkey wrench in the whole what you thought you knew?
Not really. I mean, you could argue after reading Bloodline that oh, they didn't mention anything in that book about her training as a Jedi, blah blah blah. But you know, it it fits in.
It's okay.
Yeah.
There's enough gaps, isn't there, in that space? Really, like there's that sort of 30 years space. There's a lot of places you can sort of chuck stuff in. Really,
Hmm.
I hope they kind of do more with that. Like we'll get on to Mandalorian in a minute, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You didn't think that Rey was stuck on Tatooine though at the end? I found that really weird
No.
that people thought that. I just thought she didn't even like. She parks the Falcon and like the ramp's still open. Like she's just gonna walk back up the ramp in a minute and leave.
Yeah, and BB-8's there. And
Yeah,
he's just like, oh, she's gonna go over there and do something nice, and then come back, and
yeah. We'll go
I don't
have
know what
lunch.
she's gonna do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing about the film as well. Like, sort of the wording of the Skywalker saga. With this is the end of the Skywalker saga. It really felt like Rey's just getting started. I just watched that and go like, oh, I want to see what she does now when she just gets on that ship. Like, what's she off to? What's she doing? She's still young. She's got a whole series of adventures to go forward. Is that like, I know we're going back for the foreseeable future, but are you sort of going, I want the Rey adventures one day? Like, give me that, the rest of that story.
I'm not getting my hopes up, but I do like I love Rey. Like when I saw The Force Awakens, I instantly fell in love with Rey. I don't think we're gonna get anything from that time period anytime soon.
No.
But yeah, I would love to see more from what she does.
Yeah, it's funny because I brought this up on one of the previous episodes. We're talking about that because they're asking actors like, hey, would you come back for Disney Plus? Would you come do that? And a lot of them are like, no, I wouldn't come that. And a lot of that, I think, especially before a film comes out, you can't say yes or no because the character might die. If you say yes, then like, well, I'll clear that Poe Dameron makes it through because he wants to go back for Disney Plus. Or, but if you commit, some sort of media in that post time period, whether it's Finn or Rey or Poe or anybody, you've kind of got to fill the gap in what happens to everybody else. In some respect, you've got to tell a story of everybody. So you've got to be pretty sure what you're doing before you commit to any kind of media from that point on, regardless who it is.
Yeah, I would love to see Rey train Finn.
Yeah, that was a little bolt from the blue, wasn't it? Like that was
and being force sensitive.
Yeah. It was cool. Like I like that. I quite like that. But I'm, when he sort of fell into that pit, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to tell you something, Rey." And I'm going, "Oh, geez, I don't know what this is. This is interesting that they're going to go with this." But clearly, it seems like he was just going to tell her that he could use the Force. I don't know why he felt he couldn't tell her that though.
Yeah, it definitely felt like they were going to have him like confess his love to her or something, which I would not have liked at all. But at the same time, yeah, it's weird that he would have kept that and then just like been like, I can't tell you now.
So that actually would have been really helpful. Like I've been out here doing this on my own. I really could have used a couple of hands, to help me hold this thing up a little bit. But yeah.
And like for Finn's character, it's cool that they made him force sensitive, but I wish he could have done more with it because all we really got to see of that was him knowing what's going on with Rey.
Yeah. And also sort of solving quick plot problems where they were kind of like, oh, this thing's shut down. Oh, it's okay. It's over there. We'll shoot with that. How do you know that? Oh, it's a feeling. Don't worry. I got this one. It's like, oh, good. So there was a couple of times where he sort of quickly solved some exposition because he could just, whatever, it's Star Wars, who cares? You can fix those things. I was all right. I mean, how'd you feel about Rose? Did you sort of feel like Rose got the sort of short end of the stick a little bit in the film?
Definitely.
I felt was a bit bummed like that. I know they sort of, I kind of thought going in after seeing the first, I'm like, oh, they needed someone to talk to Leia. Then those Leia scenes, they had to put a principal there and all the others are doing it. She kind of got the short end of the thing, but I would have liked to have done more in the final battle. I always was like, put her in the Tantive 4. She can coordinate that battle. She can be gold leader. She can run things. Right. That would have been easy to put her in there. It wouldn't have really affected the Leia scenes and stuff. But I was a bit bummed that Rose didn't get to do more.
Definitely.
I know that we were sort of talking about the things we didn't like. What kind of stuff really did you guys really like going out of it? Was it all a bit sort of hard to only focus on the things that didn't work for you, or there's the stuff that you kind of went, I really like that, I really like that?
I thought that all the humor hit really well with me. I thought it was really funny, and the chemistry between Poe and Finn will always have a special place in my heart. And like even their first scene where they're playing the hollow chess with Chewie, and just the way that they're little looking at each other and looking at Chewie, like their chemistry and like the whole gang, including Rey.
It really popped, didn't it? Like the relationships really popped, and the dialogue, and it was very natural, and it did have that sort of original trilogy sort of just yappity sort of little bouncing off things and work quite well. And everyone likes Babu Frick too. Like surely you liked a bit of Babu Frick.
Oh yeah, his Funko Pop is sitting
right.
here in
front
of me.
There he is. He must almost be to scale.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved his little hey
Hey,
hey.
hey! Yeah. That's very good. I forgot that he does. I completely forgot that he does it twice because he does it at the end when they turn up in with Zori Bliss. That he does a
Hmm.
little. He gives a little hey hey again. I think that'll be. That's not going to be. I mean, I know you do a bit of cosplay stuff. You're not going to attempt a Babu Frick.
I don't know about Babu Frick. That would be pretty hard.
Yeah,
But
Zori Bliss would be pretty hard too. I think that would be a lot of work involved getting that up.
yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah. I hope to get to read more about their stories. I hope Babu is in the Poe Dameron book that is going to come out. I expect Zori will be in it. Um, but yeah, I hope Babu's in it too.
Yeah, like they got a little, he's not quite Baby Yoda, but he's certainly, captured a few hearts and things. So,
Yeah.
let's pivot over to Mandalorian for a little bit. So that period of time where we were getting like Resistance, Mandalorian, like a week, then Star Wars, all that stuff coming. Is that just your weeks are just completely booked out for you guys? Is it just sort of like we've just got to get through all this stuff? Has it
It
become arduous? Or you're just like, great, we move on to the next thing, or would have been nice if they'd been spaced out a little bit more.
No, we loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, being able to get and talk about brand new content weekly
Hmm.
is like our ideal scenario
Yeah.
because we were able to record like hour-long discussions about each episode of The Mandalorian and like really get into it. And we both loved Mandalorian.
Were you up because it was like 2 a.m. or something? I suppose it depends on where you are in the country. Was it sort of 2 3 a.m.? Did you guys get up and watch it, or did you sort of wait for the morning?
The first episode we did get up, I think it was like 5 or 6 in the morning,
That's
maybe earlier. I definitely went to sleep afterwards though.
because it's funny because because that time is like sort of 7 p.m. in Australia. So we were getting it Friday night at 7 p.m. So it was the perfect. We just put the kids to bed, at least in my case, and then sit down and watch a
Hmm.
bit of Mandalorian. So it was good because my partner Kat, she'll go see a Star Wars movie, but she's not doing podcasts about it or anything like that. But she was like, "Oh, I'll watch this Mandalorian thing." And once that Baby Yoda turned up,
Oh,
she was sold. Like, did you guys have any early idea that was coming? Were you sort of as
no
surprised as all of
idea.
us?
I'm so glad that they didn't do any merch or anything because like people were like, "Oh, why don't they have Baby Yoda merch out yet to buy?" And it was because they
Hmm.
didn't want anything leaking and, so yeah, that was a big surprise and we ordered the life
Oh,
size
you ordered it, did
Baby
you?
Yoda. Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I'm gonna carry him around with me wherever I
You
go.
can get a little baby Bjorn. Like we can, our baby, our second daughter's one now. She's too big for the carrot. I'll send it over to you guys, and you and Alex can strap it on, and you can walk around with a little baby Bjorn, baby Yoda
Yeah.
walking around. And when
I
people go,
I'm
"When are you guys going to have children?" You're like, "What are you talking about? We've got like one right here." Like,
I'm fully obsessed. And we discussed doing like baby announcements, but his Alex's parents would absolutely have a meltdown if we did
oh
that.
right, they're like, "That's not funny. You can't joke
Yeah.
about stuff like that." Yeah, grandparents don't muck around. Take it from
Mm-mm.
me. No, you can't mess with their emotions like that. Like that. Um,
Yeah.
well, that was the thing. Like, I was so sure that that first season would be the story of Baby Yoda, and he would go home, and that would be the end of it. But it's sort of carrying on. He's sort of part of the crew now. There's
Hmm.
going to be
They're a
more.
house of two.
There, yeah. Um, what? So were you guys in the Mandalorian panel at Celebration? Did you get into that one?
Um,
Did you see the
Alex
footage?
was at
Alex
it.
was. Like what? What was sort of the thing that surprised you most about sort of Mandalorian? Like I like not even necessarily plot lies. I mean the actual quality of it was probably the thing that surprised me most because you sort of. I mean I know like TV's come a long way, but I didn't really even see much difference between that and a film for the most part as far as the quality of it. Like were you sort of surprised at
Hmm.
how cinematic and like just looked like Star Wars?
I I know I did see the footage from Celebration because somebody put it up on YouTube like immediately
Yeah,
after
yeah.
the panel. So I did see it, and me and Alex were like, "Ooh, that looks rough," kind
Mm.
of, because it was unfinished, and even like Jon Favreau says in the panel, like, this isn't quite finished. There's still a lot of touch-ups that we need to do, but the final product looked great.
I was in that panel, and a lot of people said that. I didn't really seem to remember thinking that it looked particularly rough, but I would really love to go back and see. Like, I'd like to see just a version of it. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm going on when they put it on the DVD. I'm like, oh yeah, it's on Disney Plus. There will be no DVD, but I would like to see some. I would like to just have a look at that raw footage and kind of compare it to what we got with and see whether it was sort of as ropey or. But yeah, I mean, I was very surprised at the quality of it, but
I was worried it would look like fan filmy, but the technology that they used with that like giant
the big screen thing,
yeah, I saw pictures of that and I was like, man, that is insane that that's what they used, and then the finished product looked amazing.
Yeah, it's a bit of a game changer, isn't it? Because they sort of, talking about green screens and all that kind of stuff, and like you see all those footage of the prequels and stuff, and it's just like Ewan McGregor standing in front of like this wall of green and stuff the whole time, and it's expensive to build sets if you want to sort of get that scale and stuff. That sort of, I'm just quite curious where they go next, like whether they sort of open the story up more. I mean, when they sort of talk about like Yoda going off to find his, do you think that's Jedis or Planet of the Yodas?
I don't know. I mean, I assume that Yoda's species, maybe they're all force sensitive, but I also kind of assume that there aren't that many of them.
No.
I don't know what to expect.
I kind of thought Jedis. I just thought, will we potentially get Luke Skywalker? He's the only guy around, and they've, they already spent all that money on young Luke Skywalker, de-aged in, they might just have to put the disc back in, whatever. Showing my age here, just open up the young Mark Hamill model that they've got, and they can, wouldn't be expecting him to be a full character and things, but they could, and that would certainly open up a few ideas of, well, where did young baby Yoda go?
Yeah. I don't know if we're gonna see any like main character Jedi in The Mandalorian or not. I don't know if I want that.
Yeah.
But I do think we're going to see some familiar Mandalorian faces and names.
So you think sort of stuff from Clone Wars and Rebels and...
Yeah, because we got the Darksaber. So we both are really hoping to see, Bo-Katan, someone from, the Clone Wars.
Clone Wars. Probably should touch on Clone Wars. And that's only like a few weeks away and stuff. So is that something that you guys are excited about? You big Clone Wars? Were you sort of big Clone Wars fans originally? You just sort of come back around to it,
I think we, because of our age, we didn't really grow up watching it like a lot of people did.
Yeah, same.
We just, neither of us watched it when it first came out. We were both watchers of it after the fact, and for me, I don't even think I saw the whole series when we did the rewatch, and we're doing another rewatch now that's in chronological order.
Yep.
And doing breakdowns of each episode and stuff, but yeah, I mean, I love Ahsoka as a character.
Yep.
So I am very excited to see where that goes in season 7.
I did watch it. When did it come out? Sort of mid to late 2000s. I watched it because I was a Star Wars fan, but I kind of watched it and forgot about. I was just like, well, that's all we got now. Star Wars. There will be no more Star Wars movies ever again. So I'll check in and watch it and things. But it was certainly geared to a younger audience and stuff. And I'll watch the new ones when they come out of interest. But I was sort of similar boat. I wasn't sort of that younger where that was like their jam, that their Star Wars. It's there's that's the thing. It's just, every little generation gets their own little Star Wars thing. Like my daughter's 4 and my other daughter's 1, and we've got these little books. They're called felt Star Wars books, and they've got all the little characters and little felt things, and they're big board books, and they just say boy, girl, danger. And I have my 1-year-old. She is obsessed with the Return of the Jedi one. We read it over and over and over, and that's her way into Star Wars now. And Olive, my 4-year-old, she likes the Forces of Destiny stuff. So and that's just funny because people were like, "Oh, what is this? It's a waste of time." That it didn't really click with a lot of people, but that's her. That's her Star Wars. Like she got the dolls. Like that's her way. She hasn't seen the films yet, so everybody gets her avenue. She'll be asking for more Forces of Destiny when she's 20. She's like, bring back Forces of Destiny.
Yeah. It really bugs me when people complain about like stuff like Forces of Destiny or Resistance and say that it was terrible, and it's like, well, it's not meant for a 30-year-old man.
Yeah, exactly. And
It's
it
meant for
completely did its
kids.
job. It got a 4-year-old into Star. Like, it completely did exactly what they intended it to do. And you might not see the effects of it for another 10 years. Resistance. What did you think of Resistance when it was all sort of wrapped up?
I liked it. I think Alex liked it more than I did. I was bummed that we only got 2 seasons.
Yeah, I was sure that they were going to, finish it off when they'd show up at that Battle of Exegol. Like, that's where they'd end up. But clearly, it takes a long time to make a cartoon. They didn't know how Rise of Skywalker was going to end. So even then, when I watched it, I went, "Oh, I like the ending." But going, do another season now. Have the whole season of the Colossus going to help, like joining the Resistance. We know, the plot's done. You don't have to spoil anything. Have them get really involved and be there and fill in some gaps. Let them hear the Palpatine message. Like, have all that kind of stuff going on. Like, I thought the best episodes of Resistance were, when Starkiller Base was there and it affected the people. Like, you could see the effects. Like, I think they ended a season too early, but for whatever reasons,
Yeah, I mean, when I found out 2 was going to be the last season, I was bummed, but I assumed it was because they're working on something else, and that's something else to look forward to. But yeah, we both expected to see the Colossus kind of like joining up with the rest of the Resistance at the end of 2, and they didn't. And that was probably the biggest bummer for me.
Yeah,
but I loved Tam and her character, and like her going in the First Order and then coming back, and
yeah. Like, I would even take do a Disney Plus special, like do an hour and a half special movie thing, or bring. It'd be a shame if they were parked forever. But I think it might be one of those things where in a few years' time, those Resistance kids, fans, and hopefully there are some, I'm sure there are, they'll come up. And like, I sat in that celebration panel, people were loving it. So
yeah,
people thought it was ridiculous that Clone Wars would ever come back, but the fans got that. So I'd like to see more of that, more of the Resistance stuff, and bring it back, guys.
And I get that there wasn't a whole lot more time that they could do leading up to the events of Rise of Skywalker, and so I wasn't sure that they were going to go into the events of that movie and then beyond. I don't know. So like the timing was kind of weird on that.
Yeah. Well, I just thought maybe they show up at the battle and then the end they would be at that party at the end. But again, the film just came out. They probably didn't know anything that was going to happen. I don't think the filmmakers even knew how they were going to end it really until recently. So, but the thing is, like, the luxury, if you did do a 3rd season, they know how that ends. They could just land it perfectly. You could do, even if you just did 10 episodes or something. But anyway, I'm sure they've got a plan and things. But coming back around to Celebration. Have you guys done Galaxy's Edge yet?
Yes. I've done it once. He's done it twice.
Yep.
And it was insane.
Did you? Was it good? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. They've announced that sort of Disney Nights thing that they're doing, because we sort of, obviously we're coming all the way from Australia, so it's just funny when we were at Celebration, you talk to people and they're like, "Oh, that person left, they've got work the next day," and it's just like, oh geez, like we have to carve out like 2 weeks because we've got to fly all the way there, and so people who we come over with and stuff, we tend to do other things while we're there because we've come all this way to the States and stuff, so we've carved out an extra day after to go to Disney anyway, just because it's Disneyland. I've never been to Disneyland. But then they're doing this Disney Nights thing, and I'm assuming it's going to tie in with Galaxy's Edge and stuff. So, did you go on the Rise of the Resistance? Was that running when you were there, or is that that's new, hasn't it? That's not fully running yet everywhere.
Yeah, that wasn't up when we went. It did come out at Disney World, which is closer to us. It's about a 7-hour drive.
Oof.
Um,
So well,
yeah,
you guys are at
still,
Atlanta, aren't you? I'm just doing
yeah,
I'm just trying to get because the landmass of Australia is actually quite similar to the landmass of the US as far as like, okay, so you're there, that's the same as going there. Yep, okay, yep.
yeah. So yeah, that came out in December actually at Disney World, but we just figured, I don't know when we'll get the chance to go, but we'll probably plan a trip to Disney World sometime in the next couple months, probably before Celebration.
Yep. And do you guys just road trip it to Anaheim? Do you fly in, or is it just load the car up, get some podcasts going, and hit the road?
To
Or
Anaheim, we're gonna fly. Yeah.
yeah, it's fun. Yeah, when people just it was just weird at the celebration. We're going like, oh yeah, I parked my car. I'm like, you brought your car? It's like, yeah, we just drove here. I'm like, oh god, it's just such a different experience of loading suitcases and loading your life up and getting over and doing all this stuff. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, but I think more the social side, just because we met so many people and made friends and doing stuff. And just panels-wise, I'm going, oh, well, it'll be Mandalorian Season 2, I guess, and there'll be something for the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back. But like one of that big thing about the Obi-Wan thing being pushed back is that there'll be nothing to show at all there. They wouldn't have even started it. So
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we'll get like another new show announcement that might be on their list of things to do, but yeah,
what
I
would
don't
be
know.
your if you could pick if Kathleen Kennedy wrote a letter to you guys and said, you know what, you guys do some really good work, Jay-Z and Beyonce of Star Wars YouTube. You can choose what the next Star Wars live action Disney Plus show is going to be. What do you want to be? And you say, shut up, Alex, I'm taking this one. What
Um,
would you like?
I would love a Crimson Dawn show,
Ah,
like similar. Like I'm all for make Solo to happen,
yep.
but I also think making it a Disney Plus TV show about Crimson Dawn, maybe just like immediately after where Solo ends.
Yep. So Amelia
I just
Clark, bring
want,
Amelia Clark back in.
yeah, I want more Maul. I want more Amelia Clark. Yeah, I think that would be really cool. And just like anything with like the crime syndicates in general, I think would be fun.
Pretty cool. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know whether we'll ever see another Solo. I think they'll do something with it. I think they'll. Yeah. I don't know. I think they had a big plan of what they were going to do, and obviously the film sort of didn't quite do the numbers, so they're going, all right, we're going to rethink that. But yeah, I think they'd all come back. I reckon. For the most
Yeah,
part, Donald Glover might be a bit trickier. He's he's like a rock star as well. It might be a little bit harder to lock down. But
yeah,
yeah, Amelia Clark, she's not Game of Thronesing anymore. I didn't see
right.
that movie with the Christmas movie. I don't know whether you saw that or not.
I started it and it was like so terrible I had to turn it off.
Oh really? Oh no. Well, that's good. If she makes a couple of terrible ones, she'll be more open to coming back to doing, something else. What do you think? Do you think Alex would agree with you if he got given the thing, or you think he's got something up his sleeve that he would really like to see? And you go both in agreement.
Uh, I think he'd probably agree for the most part. I don't know what he would want though.
Oh,
Anything involving pilots and
oh,
X-wings.
that's true. He'd be like, I want Rogue Squadron or something like that. Give me the, no, it's Biggs. Give me the Biggs Adventures. Give me
Big's a
the,
Star Wars
yeah,
story.
give me
Yeah,
the 3 hours that Biggs was with the rebellion as a thing before he got blown up as a story.
yeah.
I'll take that.
Big's at the Academy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. One ticket sold already for Alex. So when all that Obi-Wan news started coming out, is that weird for you guys? Talking about going, something that seems like it's clearly everybody freaks out, and then it's like, oh, it's bullshit, and then all of a sudden it's not quite that, but it's actually something. Is that weird for you guys, sort of following that news story? Like, how does that, like, it's a case of that where it feels like it's just there, then it's not there, then it's back, but it's something else?
I think it's funny because that kind of stuff happens with any movie, any TV show, but because it's Star
Mm,
Wars and,
absolutely.
anything Star Wars news that gets into the hands of the Star Wars fans is going to be taken very, very seriously.
Yep.
And I just see it as like normal production things.
Yeah,
And even Ewan McGregor was quoted in saying like this stuff happens all the time. It doesn't mean it's not happening.
yeah, exactly. I know. I'm sure he was just like, it would have been nice to go on a press tour and not have to answer any Obi-Wan Kenobi questions, but hey, that's all right. Yeah, I agree. And, you know, people sort of go through, oh, you know, this happened to this and this, you know, they keep announcing all this stuff. And my friend Chris on the Geek Dudes, he sort of like, oh, they love announcing stuff and then it doesn't quite work out. But I was sort of like, well, they have to because it's Star Wars. Everyone wants the information. They can't not. They've got they've got to put something out there. They've got to put out what they know because if they don't, someone will find out and basically they've lost control of the narrative. Whether it changes down the line anyway, you know, whether if you basically try to keep it all in house, it's pretty much impossible these days with Star Wars. Like, do you guys? Oh, sorry to interrupt. Do you?
That's okay. I was gonna say, like, with as big of a deal as Kathleen Kennedy and Ewan McGregor made it at D23 with that announcement, like there's no going back. Like they have to make something.
Yeah, that's right. But even then, they were pretty scarce on details. They were just kind of like, oh, look, it's happening. Here's some people we've got. I was just going to ask, do you guys get emails of people trying to like give you hot scoops and stuff like that? Or do you guys go, hey, we're not, because I know you're not like you said, you're more about the facts and the canon and stuff, but do you still get emails of like, hey, I was on this person, my friend told me this because they're in Lucasfilm, da 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 da. Do you like get those random emails and messages and stuff?
I think Alex does on occasion, and it's pure spam. Like, we don't want to know about your connection, your secret source.
Yep.
No, thanks.
We don't want to burn any bridges that we might have as well and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly. We didn't get where we are by, just parroting some crazy, wild theory that might have come from somewhere.
And it's cool to see, people report on stuff from their sources and be right about it, but that's just not something that we're interested in doing.
Yeah. Well, you got a pretty good thing going on anyway, I reckon. It's all right. So before we wind up on here, we sort of keep this to a pretty tight hour. We like to keep this show, nice and consumable. We don't sort of want to ramble on for too long. But what's the plan for the next? Have you got what's the big things coming for the channel in the next year in this sort of weird holding pattern Star Wars year? Obviously, Clone Wars will keep you busy for a bit. What have you guys got? Any sort of plans cooking up you can share, or is it all still on the whiteboard at the moment?
Most of it is still very much on the whiteboard, but the same stuff that I said about Mandalorian, like being able to get new weekly content is a very big deal for us, and so very excited for that.
That's great. Give us some more of that. Yeah, well, I guess you'll have Mandalorian. Yeah. I mean, with all this film stuff starts getting announced, films take a long time to make. They'll start talking about official announcements, whether it's directors and writers and general times periods and things. So that it should be easy enough to feed the beast, shouldn't it, really?
Oh, yeah. And on top of just the shows, like the books and the comics that are coming out, it keeps us fairly busy.
keeps the lights on.
Yeah, we got an advanced copy of Queen's Peril. Alex has already read it. I haven't read it yet, but it doesn't come out for another couple of months. But we've already got content for that ready to go.
That must be like Christmas when that turns up. Is it just a digital thing you get sent, or do you get sent an actual like book in a little unmarked box or something? Or
yeah, it's like what's it called? ARC. It's just like, here's the book, but you might see some subtle changes in the final product.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Oh, that's exciting. Well,
and like, I don't know how it happened, us getting on the PR list for that stuff, but it's turned out great. And like, Alex has been really good at getting a video out for every new book that comes out the day it comes out.
Yep.
So.
Oh, well, it's all a sort of a mutually beneficial sort of organization to get that sort of stuff going. But look, I think it's you kind of go, when all that stuff, that November, December was so full of content, and there was so much stuff, and there was so much movies and everything. And then once we sort of that ended, there was a bit of like, myself included, podcast like, what are we going to do? Like, what the hell are we going to talk about? Like, is there any like celebrations 7 or 8 months away? Would like to sort of keep this going until then at least, and have stuff to go on. But it's funny when you kind of take a step back, and especially for you guys, it's going, oh no, there's enough going on. There's plenty to do.
I expect Project Luminous, once we get the news about that, I think that's going to be big.
Yeah, right. You just like rubbing your hands together, just going, oh, exciting! That'll keep us busy.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll have the time to look after our baby Yoda when
Yes.
He won't go hungry. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, Molly. I know it's you guys are so busy. Like, you just live and breathe this stuff. I'm just a dude who has a podcast. I only have to commit an hour a week to sort of find the time to do it. You guys have got so much stuff that goes on. So thanks so much for finding the time to do it.
Yeah, no problem. This was fun.
I don't, anybody who listens to this surely knows where to find you guys and do all that stuff. But do you want to do a quick little plug of where to find you guys on the internet?
Yeah, we're pretty much Star Wars Explained everywhere. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I am at Mollie Damon on Twitter, and also Facebook and Instagram. And I can be a bit more liberal with my tweets and my Instagram. So half of that stuff's probably just videos of our cats and dogs.
That's
and
what
just
the internet's
like random life stuff.
Yeah.
So,
actually, I didn't even touch on this. I should very quickly just touch on this. This is obviously your Star Wars Explained, and my podcast is called Star Wars Spelt Out. And when it did come out, some people are going like, are you making fun of Alex and Molly? And I went, no, not at all. That it was basically, because originally I did do a few YouTube things, because I used to do some videos for Steel Wars, because Steel's a friend of mine. And then every now and then I would come up with an idea that was like, this is so stupid, there is no way he's going to want to do that. And I just liked making fun of stupid speculation that didn't make any sense. So the whole idea was that you guys know what you're talking about. We're just a bunch of idiots who make fun of the stuff. So I had to clear that up, because there was, somebody did, a couple of people were like, oh, you just making fun of those guys. Like, no, not at all. I think those guys are great. So I think I tagged you. Yeah, I think I might have tagged Alex. He's just like, I don't, one, who are you? And then, no, I never thought that was an issue or anything like that. But,
well, we had to, when we first started, it was called Star Wars Minute, and we didn't know at the time. Yeah, we didn't know at the time, but there was already a podcast called Star Wars Minute. And, those guys were super nice about it. But then, we started getting a bit bigger, and they kindly, messaged us and asked about the name, and we were happy to change it, because our content was slowly creeping past a minute.
Yeah, that's right.
And we wanted to do longer content, so that's when we switched to Star Wars Explained, which, sometimes we get mistaken, or our videos get mistaken for other channels, and other channels' videos get mistaken for ours, because a lot of people put so-and-so explained in their titles, and that's
they just piggyback off the success. Well, you can change it. You can change it.
Yeah, it's not something we can like copyright or anything.
No. Well, now you can just change it to the Jay-Z and Beyonce of Star Wars YouTube, and then bang.
Yes.
They'll take it to the next level. You just go up one more. Awesome. Well, you can find all our stuff at StarWarsSpeltOut.com, t-shirts, all that kind of stuff, all the merch, all this sort of things. Thanks for everybody who's been buying that stuff. People still buying McClunky shirts for some reason. I don't know. I thought that was a flash in the pan. Every now and then you'll get a little like, you made a McClunky sale. I'm like, really? Okay, that's great.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, it paid for my new recorder. So there you go. I'm not quite on the full-time thing yet, but it's still not too bad. But awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Molly.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me, and finally we get to do this.
Exactly. Well, next time we'll try and get you and Alex on again at some stage, and if not, we'll catch up for a beer at Celebration.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited.
Me too. All right. See you later.